Welcome everyone to the City Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, March the 4th. Standing room only here at City Hall, so I appreciate everybody's patience tonight as we get through this very long agenda. Lots of substantive items as always. And like with prior meetings, we will begin by inviting you to stand and recite the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fantastic. Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Sure. Patrick Tevenot.
Here.
Carla Krebs.
Here.
Josh Schaefer.
Here.
Lucy DeTillo is absent. Sorry. Josh Schaefer.
Here.
Joel Storm. Absent. Jim Bartlett.
Here.
And Josh Wilbur.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Council, you have before you the minutes from Tuesday, February 18th. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. And moving through the agenda, we do not have any resolutions or bills to discuss tonight. Council, are there any reports, recommendations, or other business from standing or select committees of council? Hearing none, we'll move to reports of city officials, and we'll begin with Clerk Treasurer Renierson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 pages I'm going to read. I'm going to read them quickly. I typed these up because I get off into the weeds, so I just want to be sure I covered a lot of things for you all. Okay, so we're going to talk about, first of all, I'd like to publicly acknowledge my staff and thank them for all of their hard work. The last few months have been a double marathon, and I'm grateful to have a team of dedicated folks helping me and helping the City of Madison stay organized and accurate in our reportings. For those that may not know, my staff includes 4 separate functioning departments. The first one is payroll, and that is run by Shannon. She handles the data entry for just under 200 employees. This includes getting time clock punches addressed, department head approvals, withholding, and insurance options entered accurately. With the influx of part-time temporary people each summer comes a plethora of documentation and data entry on top of the regular pay period entries. Shannon also handles the pensioners' payments, tracks the IRS and state of Indiana withholding payments, and makes payments to the state of Indiana for all sales tax collected from the various departments within the city. Shannon always jumps in to help the team when needed, and she has the title of veteran staffer after 3 years in her role. Our accounts payable clerk, Madison, she handles all vendor payments. She does the vendor setups. She does the accounts payable vouchers, which we guys hear about, APVs. She does the check and ACH disbursements, all the documentation necessary behind each one of those items. The volume of disbursements each month range from 600 to 1,000 disbursements, and each one of those needs to be properly documented. She has the responsibility to set up vendors in the software system, keep the files on those tax documents. She disperses 1099s at the end of the year, and she helps department heads with questions regarding their appropriation accounts. Madeline always jumps in to help the team when needed and is the only staffer with former clerk department experience from another city. And on to our accounts receivable and / executive assistant. His name is Tom, and he handles all incoming funds and verifies money gets the reported collections for every department in the city. He also handles internal fund transfers. He takes care of all paperwork from the council and BPW meetings, and he assists department heads with questions on where to find paperwork if needed. He helps with uploading information into the Gateway platform, including helping with monthly uploads and the annual financial report uploads that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. He takes care of filing all incoming titles, leases, Those would be for cars and some of the park equipment, and also uploads the files of the contracts, and he brings those items to our attention that need to be reconciled if it's missing information. Tom always jumps in to help the team when needed, and he's a great workplace designer, and he greets all of our visitors with grace and enthusiasm. And our final person upstairs is our bookkeeper, and that is Melissa. She's our bookkeeper. She's also our pro auditor up there. She handles reconciling all of our bank accounts. There are 37 total bank accounts. Of those bank accounts, 22 are heavy activity accounts, with the remaining accounts set up to track in and out transfers for bond payments. But I will tell you, those also need to be reconciled. The volume of transactions that the other 3 desks handle are all funneled through this desk for verification. Once she balances the accounts, she then uploads the documentation to State Board of Accounts via Gateway each month, which is, in theory, cuts down on our State Board of Account auditing time. I like to think of this desk as a pre-audit. She finds discrepancies and she helps guide the different desks on how to remedy those. She's a vital part of the solutions to a larger scale issues since she sees the end product of all entries. Melissa always jumps in to help the team when needed. She gifted us with her second chance, originally starting in the fall of 2022, and then returning to us to carry out the role that she was made for. Secondly, I'd also like to publicly acknowledge the mayor and his team for the forward thinking in creating and restructuring his administration. As you can see with the volume of work that's listed above, and all of the work that I personally need to address for my team, for the council, for BPW, and the state of Indiana, there's very little time left over for addressing long-term initiatives with each individual department. This new realignment will move the city forward on applications for larger funding initiatives such as Federal Highway Authority, INDOT's CCMG grants, among others. My department is quote-unquote money in, money out, and how did you document that? It keeps us super busy. Thirdly, I only have 4, just in case you guys are curious. So thirdly, the annual financial report for 2024 is complete. It was on time, and it was published in the paper as required by law. I've attached a copy of that AFR for you and highlighted a few items to directly address in case you have any questions. Feel free to call, email, or you can ask tonight if you have any questions. Upcoming things, so this is number 4 for those scoring at home. Upcoming funds, so State Board of Accounts returned for a couple of days last week, and she got her final documents in for the 2023 audit. They're going to let us know when they're ready for the exit review, hopefully in the next month or 2. They're expected to return for the 24 audit sometime in June, and I'll let you guys know when that gets rescheduled. Secondly, on this, we are live with our 2025 accounting and spending. There are a few things that need to be adjusted in some of the appropriation lines. I will work with Mindy and get an ordinance to you to address those transfers in the next month. This is not a concern, and I fully anticipated that there would be some items that did not hit the right appropriation lines. We were unable to quote-unquote see the lines until we closed 2024, and that only happened just a week ago. Think of this as the mud when the river floods. There's no damage. We just need to do cleanup. We will also be working with Minnie to get some funds cleaned up. You will be presented with a few ordinances to open some funds and to close some funds. Some need to be closed because they're no longer in use, and some are currently being used, and they need to have a clearer ordinance to underscore those. And lastly, I'm working with police, planning, preservation, and development in the mayor's office to put some structure under the Violations Bureau, which I'm supposedly in charge of. That policy may need some adjustments once we finish all of our workshop sessions, and I'll keep you updated and let you know as things move forward. Thank you for giving me some time to address these things. Oh, thank you. Do you guys have any questions, I guess, in pertaining to anything on the list, but potentially the annual financial report?
I would just like to say, I saw Josh moving over there to probably make a remark too. Great job here, great report.
Oh, thank you.
And what is attached is, the annual financial report that was in the paper. but you should see the volume of information that's in Gateway. Gateway, if you're not familiar with it, is the Indiana Transparency Portal. And it has a tremendous amount of information about the financial condition and transactions and contracts and debt and balances and on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's voluminous. So you can always go to Gateway as well and see a lot of information. What is advertised, what is published, I should say, is the statement of financial condition for December 31st. But a lot of information is posted regularly on the Gateway. So look at that report if you have any other thing. And then, Shirley and her team have done a really, really good job of getting us to where we are now, to the point where, we're looking at 2025 appropriations, and we can put into place the procedures and policies and structure that I announced at the last meeting. So I'm looking forward to the balance of this year. We have a lot of, I'll talk a few minutes later about what we have teed up next, but turn it back over to council. Josh, I think you wanted to say some remarks.
Yeah, I just want to, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and certainly I think your team probably thanks you for recognizing them, because team members don't always get recognized, especially in good ways. It's usually the negative ways.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. But it looks like your team is making you look good, Shirley.
Yeah,
and,
they are. They always
the mark
do.
of any good leader is the team around them.
Yeah,
so,
thank you.
keep it up. You guys have a lot, on your hands for, 5 people in a department total, right? So yourself
Right.
and the 4, and so you're taking on a good bit of information in and out, right?
Yep.
And making it happen. So we appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that the council does as well.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. No other questions for our clerk treasurer. We'll invite our Parks Department Operations Manager, Tanya Burnett, to address council and the mayor's office.
Good evening. So I guess you can see we've done a little restructuring ourselves within the Parks Department. And in the gap of not having a Parks Director for a month, there were really people already on the team who were stepping up to fill in roles. And we realized real fast that we had some really experienced people on the team already that could fulfill a lot of, well, really all of the way we divided up the responsibilities of a park director. So I've listed those for you there. I'm taking over just the operations piece and being the point person to communicate to the team. We really felt like the people that were there in place and had so many years of experience didn't need managed as much as they just need informed and equipped to do their job. They do a good job of it. Christian Hansen has moved from superintendent of the golf course to superintendent of parks. So he will oversee the grounds for all of our parks. That includes the athletic fields. He'll have a crew to prepare the fields, and then the rest of the parks, just the green space, mowing those. He has over 30 years experience doing that. We know that we're really excited about how beautiful he's going to make the park, all of our parks. That work has already begun. Today we're getting Kiwanis and Rucker ready for T-ball and men's softball leagues, and are starting later this week on new dugouts at John Paul Park so the guys can play down there this season. Whitney Bird-Zalaskis is our athletic director, so she's taken more of a leadership role with a lot of the stuff she was already doing, and picked up a lot of our programming software. We're implementing new software soon, and she's been spearheading that to make the processes a lot smoother, easier for the public to register for programming, a lot easier for us on the back end. We're real excited about how it's going to speed up the process at Crystal Beach. Just entries, they'll be able to scan QR codes and really just speed up that processing, and then have the reporting there that we need for Shirley. And then Brett Ricketts was our part-time senior event coordinator, and we moved him to community development director. So he's taken over a lot of the responsibilities I had with event planning, as well as the programming at the senior center. So he'll be overseeing community events, and then special programming that we do beyond the athletic programming. And then Roger Gallatin is the Sunrise Golf Pro. And that's the 5-person team that we are functioning with. We have a whole lot of other people on our team, but that's really the leadership team that will lead us for the next 6 months at least.
Tanya, are you going to have responsibility for the financials for
Yes.
all areas? So they'll give you their input? and
Each
you'll put
one
the
of them
budget?
are going to have their budget. They are
Okay.
very well capable of overseeing it, with Mindy and I overseeing that. So they're going to have a lot of input in their budgets and see their budgets. In the past, they hadn't even seen their budget in order to operate. So we're really going to be working closely with them.
Okay.
And we just, with the end of the year just closing, Mindy and I are just now getting ready to start that work of just fine tuning our budget to operate within that, and we'll be working with
So
them.
we'll roll up and you two will then, kind of dictate, okay, yeah, thank you, appreciate it, but here's, so here's how it's, yeah.
So if I could take this, sorry to interrupt your
No,
report,
go
but
please,
just
go.
because you asked that question, just so council understands what our intent is, I will work one-on-one with each department head in detail on their budget, and we'll put together reporting that shows where they are year-to-date, month-to-date on their budgeted amounts, so there's no surprises at year-end, and hopefully there's no year-end transfers. I mean, there's going to be, but not like we have in the past, so.
Well, yeah, and we really want to do that through the year. So,
Right.
I mean, there's
we will-
already some transfers that we need to make.
We will manage the budgets as we move, and this should open us all up to have the time to do that. Typically, why it gets pushed to end of year is because we're very busy. So we push it and then we regret it, so.
My big thing is just, accountability, right? So you got to be an ultimate accountability somewhere in it, and, I'm fine, you want to break it up with, the 5 different people, but usually there's always got to be one, right, that's going to take responsibility for it and then present and
That's me.
be accountable, so. Okay, thank you.
And then we have,
This is at least a 6-month plan for the staffing, for the leadership. And then
yes, and then we'll
reevaluate.
reevaluate and see how it,
Reevaluate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I think they've done a great job. I like the way it's working and the direction it's heading. And we'll continue to calibrate as we need to and not have any blip in the sports or facilities opening or the leagues. Our community is really depending on us and our parks, our very, very small Parks Department, along with our Parks Commission, do a lot of heavy lifting. And then as a companion to that, through the Redevelopment Commission, working with Tony and our Redevelopment Commission, we're also doing the planning for the capital improvements. And I think maybe you're going to touch on that a little bit too, but there's a lot of continued investment happening in the City of Madison's parks and health and wellness initiatives. And honestly, we haven't missed a beat, candidly.
well, and one of the things we're really focusing on as a team is keeping each other informed, and that there's not just one person that knows how to run Crystal Beach. If I'm not here or Whitney's not here, how we can cover for each other and work together as a team to make sure that the ball's not dropped in any area. Because there is a lot in the parks it's a lot for one person to keep up with on their own.
One more quick question while we're
Yes.
on personnel. You said Brett Ricketts was part-time. Did he move to a full-time position?
He did.
Okay.
He did. Park offices have moved to Brown Gym, if you didn't already know that. Kim is retiring, the park secretary is retiring in May, so we have hired Linda Lee part-time in that position, and she starts in April to have a couple weeks training with Kim before she's gone. We're gearing up to hire seasonal maintenance for mowing, and then also we've got a job fair planned for Crystal Beach on April 5th. And Les and Natalie Hook are our campground hosts this year. And then Whitney is working with league directors, so she has already Mike Watson lined up to be the league director for baseball software, and it kind of lays out there what the how she's going to be working with them. And that's something we've done in the past, haven't for a couple years, but we're going back to that. Facilities, a lot of cleanup after the flooding on the river, so we've got, Jake Shockley's got a group of kids coming tomorrow to clean up at Crystal Beach. There was a lot of mud and just cleaning that needed to be done there and the campground. Like I already said, field work is being done to get the fields ready. We did some work on the offices at Brown Gym. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback that we're using that space and just taking care of the gym itself. I don't know. Skip on to programming. There's a list there of all the programming that we currently have for registration. Baseball, softball, sorry, football, cheerleading, several summer camps this year, and then the adult wellness program. Like I already mentioned, we do have new software for the park system kicking off April 1st, which we think will simplify things for the consumer and for us.
And through the city website, how are you communicating the programming to the community?
Facebook, the radio, and then paper forms to the school are the main areas. If you have any suggestions, we're open to that.
Well, I've seen other communities, whether it's billboards or it's yard signs or, that just, it's, just different types of communication that gets people like, oh gosh, man, okay, it's baseball time to
The
sign
mayor
up.
suggested to me this afternoon we start making phone calls.
It could be. I just,
Phone banking.
I think it's good that
Yeah.
we get the word out as many different ways of communication that we can, because, I just hate seeing the low numbers. I know you guys do too, and we're trying to get a resurgence there, so I would just recommend looking at some other communications. Like I said, yard signs aren't real expensive. You can get them and you can utilize them year after year. You could put them out and do it kind of more generically, but I just, think it would be good to see that as you're driving around or in the community as well, other than the typical methods, but that's just my opinion, so.
We are investing quite a bit of time in work on the fields and making them look better, and hope that will, some of the fields aren't real playable, so hopefully that will help as well. Any other questions on programming there? It's a long list. I don't want to read all that to you guys. You can read it. The pool, gearing up for another fantastic year. I will be working with Whitney to help manage the pool, and then we have Shelley coming back as the general manager for the day-to-day stuff. But Whitney's taken the lead with lifeguarding and certification and the aquatic part of the pool, and then I will be overseeing concessions in the front door. So we're splitting that. It's a huge thing to manage. There's a lot of people there, and it's a lot of hours, so I'm going to be helping them with that a lot. Yeah.
Mentioned, we got to cover it in a big article.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Did you
Who
guys
knew
each
that
get
there
one of
was
those?
a World Water Park, official World Water Park Association? They found us. It's great.
And the pool will be opening Labor Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Memorial Day weekend. Goodness. And then there's a report there from Roger on the golf course. Of course, there was snow opening day, so it was a little bit of a slow start, but these nice days, there have been several people playing. So we'll work on getting more budgeting reports for the next report. More budgeted reports for the next one, but
I haven't seen any data on it yet.
I have not either.
Yeah, the first couple of weeks were not very good because it was snow and rain and cold weather. So we'll have to make up for that and calibrate. And I know they sold
And he told me that was normal for
They-
February,
quite a bit of passes in
the end of
December.
the year. Yeah.
You had a like a sell, right? I mean, almost to
Same price?
Same price,
for
yeah.
2025?
Yep.
Yes, and that actually brought in a lot of extra money.
Can I jump in just real quick
Sure.
on that? So just to refresh your memory from budget season, when we talked about this last year, Mindy and I worked with the mayor and we got 4 separate funds set up. So it's going to be a little easier for Tanya and her crew to decipher money that comes in for Sunrise is going to go into Sunrise. If there's expenses for Sunrise, they stay in the Sunrise Fund. So money in, money out for Sunrise Fund, money in, money out for Crystal Beach, money in, money out for Campground, and money in, money out for Ruckers.
Yes, that would
Me
be nice.
too.
Us too.
You know, we thought
Yeah.
we did that a few years ago, but it never got implemented the way we had intended. So I'm glad 2025 we're off to a good start with that.
And I'll be working with Mindy and Shirley both to do some of that cleanup stuff that needs done, so.
On
Right.
Sunrise, we've been trending closer and closer to break even. It looks like last year it was 59K.
Mhm.
What was the previous year? Do you remember?
Less than that, that was in the 30s.
So
I
we
was going to
stepped-
say 40.
went backwards last year then
What's that?
compared to went back and step instead of
Yes.
closer to.
Yeah, and it won't happen this year.
The previous year
The
prior to that
course
was-
is the team there is doing a great job with course maintenance. Roger's working hard to book more events. There was a raise in the fees and cart fees for 2025, and it's about controlling expenses, and we'll do a really good job on that this year.
Any other questions?
I just want to say that I'm excited to see T-ball back at Kiwanis and to see the lights on the river again. And I just want to make sure that that gets in the newspaper because the Boys Club has been running T-ball, but they decided not to.
Right.
And that we're picking up that torch. So get your people signed up for T-ball.
Yes.
I've got 2 signed up.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Moving on, no bills on second reading. Public comments. Madam President, anybody on the public?
Nobody signed up. Thank you, sir.
All right, gives me the rest of the hour.
Should I turn my clock on?
Well, kids, been busy. I want to thank everybody who attended the State of the City, and if you were not able to attend, you can watch it. I believe it's been uploaded to our YouTube channel. There's also a summary report that we provided there and is available here as well. Talked about all of the kind of the highlights of 2024, and we spent a lot of time at the State of the City talking about 2025. But 2024 was a great year all across the city relative to transportation, parks, redevelopment, economic development, efficiencies. We're going to make sure we do an even better job and have 2025 be even greater. I would like to mention in Board of Public Works, so I want to give you guys an update. I'd invite council and anybody here, please come to the Board of Public Works meetings. There's lots of activity happens there. As you know, Board of Public Works, we supervise streets, police, fire, anything public safety related, sidewalks, all those things, as well as utilities. And we have a very vast network of utility infrastructure. One of the areas that has been a problem for a long term, it's been a chronic problem, but growing in scale, is the Wells Drive lift station. So yesterday we took the action to approve the beginning of flow metering and smoke testing for that, all of that wastewater that flows into the Wells Drive lift station. City overall has, I think Brian said, 80 to 100 lift stations across our network. As you know, we operate 2. One's called Jefferson County Sewer District. That's the City of Madison wastewater operation, as well as the City of Madison Sewer District. And we have lots of infrastructure there that needs to be invested in. And when the city last raised the rates and made an investment to get through a court-ordered long-term control agreement, they did that around 2017. There was still work unfinished. And so what we now have to do, just like we've done with our water infrastructure and our solid waste, now we have to do the planning to continue the investment in making sure that our utilities are provided adequately. The beginning of that is this testing that I just mentioned, and that will, over the course of the next 12 months, will lead to another comprehensive plan with regard to our sewer infrastructure, so that we can evaluate the investment that's going to be, it's another multi-million-dollar investment that has to be made in our sewer infrastructure. So the beginning part of that is happening now, but it's a continuation of what started around 8 or 9 years ago. So that's BPWS. I also, Joe's not here tonight, but he was there at the Board of Public Works meeting yesterday, and we gave an update on a couple of the lawsuits that we're involved in. If you recall, in April of 2023, the Board of Public Works and Safety, after having a public hearing, ordered the removal of 7 dilapidated, unsafe trailers out of Moody Park. The order has not been complied with. We were sued by Mr. Cunningham. That has been making its way through the court system. In last fall, they applied for a motion for summary judgment to essentially say our order was invalid. That was denied by the circuit court. They've appealed that to the Indiana Court of Appeals, and on January the 30th, Indiana Court of Appeals denied their appeal to the circuit court's order, and essentially it let stand the order that the Board of Public Works and Safety had issued back in 2023. It's a long-winded thing to say that for almost 2 years now, we've been defending our order, and we'll continue to defend the city in its order to have those unsafe trailers removed from that site. More to come. It's going through the legal system. Another litigation was an update that Joe gave yesterday on a Historic District Board of Review order for the removal of containers at Lanthier Winery. After a couple of years, it seems like, of being in court, our Historic Board order for the removal of the containers was upheld, and the containers have not been removed, and so we've pursued through the court an order to compel compliance with the Historic District Board of Review. That is now back in court being contested, but there's still action happening, but that's another couple years in the making for compliance. Only thing to kind of tell you about that is that's a prelude into what we're working on now. As you know, blight elimination, historic preservation is extremely important to this administration and the city. We've had lots of tactics over the last couple of years that have been working, cleaning up our neighborhoods, eliminating blight. Dewey and Brian were here about a month or so ago, gave council an update on activity in the planning, preservation, and design, particularly code enforcement, building permit activity. Over the last 3 years with Dewey in office, he has worked through 1,000 nuisance complaints, and we're still working through dozens of unsafe structures in the community. The next generation of policy, we have PACE, we have our unsafe building law, we have our nuisance laws, and then at the March 18th meeting, I invite everybody in the community to be here, especially our fans in the audience, standing room only. We will be introducing the vacant and abandoned structures ordinance, and that will allow policy for us to interact in a different way with property owners who are maintaining essentially unsafe and dilapidated, vacant, abandoned properties. The goal there is to work with a plan with the property owner to abate the blighting elements of their properties that have so many negative effects in our community. So that will be introduced March the 18th, along with two other policies we've been working on. One is an update to the city's personnel handbook. I shouldn't say it's an update because it's basically a rewrite. It's been 2008 since there's been anything happening relative to personnel. A lot of the laws have changed. We're trying to get some standardization. That will be introduced March 18th, I believe, as well. Think so? Okay. And then we've been also talking about the legislative session. You may have seen in today's paper, thank you, Mark, Madison Courier published an op-ed that says property tax reform should be targeted to help low-income residents. This has been a really difficult legislative session for local government because of proposed property tax reform. And we're all in favor of affordable, being more affordable, if we can, but also being targeted to help seniors, veterans, disabled citizens, low to moderate income citizens as well. The proposed legislation goes way beyond that and will impact all local government, including the city of Madison, quite dramatically. So I'll be testifying with the House Ways and Means Committee tomorrow with some fellow mayors across the state on the impact of this legislation in hopes of continuing to get it amended so that it is not as devastating to local government. Just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, as proposed now, which is already an amended version, over the next 3 budget cycles, which we're already starting to work on the 2026 budget, it's about almost a $2 million impact to the property tax revenue for the city of Madison. That's just over 3 budget cycles. It's going to have a compounding effect that's going to get greater and greater as each year progresses. If you add in elements from other bills that are often companions between Senate and House, we could be looking at a $4 to $5 million reduction in revenue for the city's tax income. Measure that to the extent that right now our property tax revenue is just a little over $7 million, and it covers virtually all it covers, I should say, is our general fund expenses and about half of our overall budget. So we're already operating in a very lean manner, low tax rate environment. This bill will have a very serious impact on parks, police, fire, administration, investment in our community, our roads, our streets. There's not going to be a part of our city that's untouched. And statewide, it's over $1 billion of revenue lost from local governments. And I think the best value people get for taxes they pay is local government. It's what you see when you're driving around our community, how you feel about it, all the programs that we offer. So keep an eye on that. Council, I believe I've shared with you all updates from AIM on these particular bills. Community, I would ask you to reach out to your state legislature, your state senator on the impact of what it would mean if the city of Madison lost $2 million a year or more in property tax revenue. It will be a major change for us. So we're working very hard to preserve income and do it responsibly and fiscally responsible. So I think we're able to do that. And so March 18th and April will be important meetings for us because of new policies that will be introduced. As well
Mayor, as for the handbook, I would ask a little bit longer. I've been working with Jenna on it. She's asked me to take a look at it. I want to sit down with her, but my schedule won't allow me to do that until the end of this month. I've already found several things just in the first 13, 14 pages that I want to discuss where there's just wording, but wording means a lot when you're talking about policies, especially the handbook. So hopefully you can extend that until April to allow a little time to go through those. So I can go.
It's a lengthy document, so I understand everybody's going to need time to read it. Yeah. Now, I would also say you're in a very different position because this is your profession.
Right.
Others may look at, it's administrative for our, how we manage the employees. And what we've done there is we've also standardized a lot of things. Believe it or not, we didn't have a standard work week. We didn't have a standard work day. Mm-hmm. We didn't have standard hours. We had non-exempt people getting salaries plus overtime. It's a mess, candidly.
Yep.
We're taking care of all those things along the way, and we'll do it, right.
Yeah.
But we'll also take the right time too.
The other thing is on the public safety, talked about the BPWS. I would like to see you guys take a look at down on 7 and in Main intersection, right by Red Pepperoni. We've had a vehicle accident. I was talking to the chief about just the last time we were in here. It happened that day where somebody tries to turn into the bike lane because they still want to turn right, and somebody who was in the correct lane was turning right, and of course they crashed because people are still trying to go over there for it because there's no right turn lane. You have to, it's the straight and turn, it's both the same down there, but they're still doing it. So even if you guys could even put
So you're
just,
saying hash it?
well, or put 2 cones, the tall, like skinny cones there, the temporary cones you anchor into the pavement just to deter people from doing that, so they know they can't do it. It happens a lot. I go that way every day for work, and I see people do it all the time, and they've almost cut me off as I'm trying to be there.
I've had a
turn.
similar situation.
So-
We'll have to work through NDOT on what they want to do. They control
Okay.
that intersection.
Oh, really? Gosh. Okay. All right. Thanks.
But I agree with you, because it just happened to me last week too. I didn't have the accident, but I was in the proper lane getting ready to turn right, and as the light changed, car zipped around to the right of me and
Yep.
turned right.
And we're going to have pedestrians, obviously, the uptick coming up with the summer and stuff, that I'm worried that people are, it's going to be worse at some point in time, just there, and I don't know why people don't get it. The lines are there, unfortunately, they're not following. So.
Council, I'm happy to answer any questions. Our next meeting is Tuesday, March the 18th. And if there is nothing else, we can have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here.